morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome once again to our weekly Sunrise Project call, where it's always a safe space and shame free space filled with love and compassion and our mutual desire to heal ourselves and our families. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I am really excited to have with us this morning a woman who has been with us on the Sunrise Project for many years, I believe, and she has vulnerably and openly graced us with conversation and her own story. Her name is Nikki Brown. She's an honest, funny, and free spirited life doula. She empowers women over the age of 35 to birth babies, books, and brands. Nikki is a mother of two, a daughter, and the last of 10 children. And she's self published 4 books in the last 15 years. For over 25 years, Nikki has been empowering women, girls, and youth to speak their truths and live out loud. Nikki is currently completing the Circle of Life as she prepares to pursue a career in mortuary science. She holds several master's degrees, and it's her bachelor's degree of arts from Morgan State University that makes her most proud. Integrity, conscious conversations with God, and laughter are her grounding principles. Nikki, we are so happy to have you here with us today as
Thank
our
you.
guest. And I really
Thank
look
you,
forward
Cal.
to hearing your story. It's actually Alcohol Awareness Month. And so our conversation is really going to center on your journey of your self proclaimed journey from sickness to sobriety and how you now use what you've learned and your sobriety to help others, including your son, on your journey. So, welcome. I'm going to put the
Thank
spotlight on you.
you.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you, Kelly? Thank
I'm
you. Thank you
I'm
so much.
blessed. Yeah, I'm
Um,
grateful that you're here. I want to open up by just saying, um, as I said, I met you through Sunrise. You've been on many of our calls and you shared so openly. And so I want to open by asking you to share your personal story, just some of your background, where you grew up. I see you're sitting in front of a beautiful brownstone, just your life's journey. And then
okay.
we'll transition to where you are today.
Sure. First of all, I want to thank God, the Most High, for gathering us today, for putting it on your heart to ask me. We've
Yeah.
been on this journey. I've been here back and forth since 2020. It was the pandemic when
Mm,
this journey
mm.
began. And, I took a break and then I was like, I need to send where's the email? And I went and found the
Yes.
email and I've been coming back ever since. So, my name is Nikki Brown. I am a life doula. What that looks like is that I focus on the whole life cycle from beginning to end,
Hmm. Wow.
from pregnancy, or shall I say, pre-pregnancy, because there's a conversation that happens to
Hmm.
until we pass away. And
Yes.
so I think that where do I begin? I am a native New Yorker. I'm from the Bronx. I've lived between the Bronx and Harlem. So right now I live in Harlem. I'm in front of my friend's brownstone. I was walking to Central
Hmm.
Park. I said, I'm not going to make it to Central Park. We're going to stop at
Right.
my homegirl's house. And I was sitting in her courtyard. And I'm going to have this conversation today. And so where do I begin? I tell people I was born into addiction, born into it. I believe that my parents were probably intoxicated when they conceived me. All right. It was a cold
Mm,
December night, and 9 months later, I was born. And so
mm,
I was raised by alcoholics and addicts. It didn't matter if they were blood related or if they were culturally connected to me in my
hmm.
neighborhood. Everyone around me was on some type of mind altering substance, period.
Wow. Wow.
Yet I had a great life, right? Like two things
Hmm.
can exist at the same time. My mother worked her buns off to make sure she paid for Catholic school for 12
Hmm.
years. You hear me say, you read the bio. I went to a lot of daggone school. And,
Yeah.
it had to be financed in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But addiction was always that thing that was going to
Mm,
be on my shoulder, that was in my blood, that was right next to me at any given moment in time. And so here I am today, right?
hmm.
Fast forward. to this moment, I tell people I started using drugs and alcohol as a kid, as a child. I was a little girl.
Really?
My friend and I thought that we were grown-ups. We thought
Mm.
you had to be a grown-up to drink. We were
Like
11.
a teenager? Oh,
No,
11. Wow.
11 years old. And we bought our first wine cooler. It was called Calvin
Mm.
Cooler. We bought a Calvin Cooler and we bought a bag of marijuana. Because back
Wow.
then, you could walk into the store and you could buy alcohol and you could go to the little spot and get you a nickel bag of weed. And
Wow.
there was no adult that would say no because the adult was the one selling it, which is crazy, right?
Wow.
And so, I mean, so high, that was middle school, right? So my
Wow.
daughter's age is when that happened, right? And then high school happened, and we drank before the parties or after the parties or in the staircase on the weekends. And then college
Mm.
came, right? That was when we had adult supervision. Well, we fast
Right.
forward to college and there is no adult supervision. And
Wow.
all bets are off when you're on a college
Right.
campus and there's no one governing anything about your life.
Right.
And
And you're right. And you're in Baltimore, which has lots of,
absolutely, come on
potential
now.
opportunities. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. This was like the height of the AIDS and the crack epidemic in
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore City. So yes, it was crazy. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but I managed to still go to school, right? Drunk the night
Mm-hmm.
before, wake up the next day and go to your 8 o'clock class, which was
Right.
insane, absolutely insane. But then I didn't know it was insane. I thought I was functioning, right?
Right.
Because that's what I saw the quote unquote adults do in my life. They functioned.
Right. While drinking, you were functioning
Absolutely.
alcoholic. You call it that?
Absolutely. I
Okay.
would I
Hmm.
mean, now I know it was malfunctioning, right? It wasn't
Right.
functioning.
Right.
I looked at it then like I was functioning because that's what I saw the adults do because they didn't miss a beat. They still went to work.
Hmm.
Nobody ever lost their job, you know.
Mm.
But in hindsight, in my house, the bills were never paid. I mean, things were crazy.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
do see that it had an impact on us. It's just that when you're
Hmm.
20 something years old, you don't think that, right?
Right. So when did you decide that it was time to get well? What
You
made
know,
you decide and how did you make that decision?
I tell people I used alcohol mainly for 42 years. Like I went
Wow.
to a rehab once, but they kicked me out in 24 hours. I was
I
so
lost that
belligerent and
sentence. Hey,
disrespectful.
Nikki. Nikki, say that
Can you
one
hear
time.
me?
Say that again. Now I can hear you perfectly. It went
I
out for a
said I
second.
checked myself into a rehab one time, and in
Okay.
24 hours, they kicked me out.
Wow.
They were like, "You gotta go." I mean, because I was like, "I'm gonna tell you how to run the facility,"
Wow. Wow. How
and
old were
that
you
is
when you
how
did that?
bad. 46,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
46 when I did that, and maybe 43. I don't remember, but I was, grown,
Mm-hmm.
and time went on, and it wasn't until 98 days ago, really, that I
Mm.
woke up and I said, I couldn't remember everything from the day before. I didn't like that feeling, Kelly. I
Right.
said, I want to be present in my life. I want to remember everything about my life. And there is no way that I can be present in my life if I'm intoxicated. And I didn't pick up another drink.
Good for you. Right then in that moment.
In that moment, I
Just
woke up and yeah, it was something about the night before that I did things, I said things that I did. I was like, you would not have done that if you were not drinking. And then it
right.
was like a moment that I couldn't recall particular aspects of the evening. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, that's it, no more.
Good for you.
And
98 days ago.
98 days, child. And I went and found me, they say get a sponsor. They say go to a meeting, all the things.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
did it. I did it. They say count the days, count the minutes. I am counting them like,
Oh, so proud
yeah,
of you. Congratulations.
thank you.
That's amazing after 42 years to have a moment. And I believe,
Mm,
and I know you and I were talking about this before the call started. God is in charge. And God touched you that day, 98 days ago, and said, now's the time.
indeed.
Whatever, that's it. So, congratulations. I want to talk
Thank you.
about how your journey um, and how your history and what you just shared about your history helps you and has helped you stay grounded with your son. And then
Hmm.
for people who might be new that today, if you could share your journey with your son, because you've shared in the past, but there might be some new people here with us this morning.
Absolutely. So I'll say when I was 15, I was in a class, like a guidance class, like a counseling class with my
Mm-hmm.
friends. And I used to go there because they gave lollipops on Fridays, right? That was my thing.
Mm,
But we would
yes.
share about our lives. And clearly, I was sharing about my life because my guidance counselor said, you should go to Al Anon. Now, Al Anon is for people who are
Mm-hmm.
impacted by other people's addiction. And I'm
Yes.
thinking, well, clearly I didn't tell them that I was using at that time because she probably would have told me to go to Alcoholics Anonymous at 15. But she said I should go
Mm-hmm.
to Al Anon. I didn't go because we didn't have the internet and we only had phone books. And I was not looking through the phone book to find a meeting. Plus, I felt like
Mm.
I don't really need that. It's not that bad. I was telling myself a lie about what I was dealing with at home. When I got
Ooh,
to age,
that part, I just have to say that part. How often we tell ourselves lies and we don't tell
um,
ourselves the truth. That is so deep. That's so deep. But please go on.
that's
Keep
fine. I
going.
lived that lie until I was 38 years old. And I ended
Mm,
up where I was in my apartment, and my mother, for some unfortunate reason, was living in my apartment. And the things around my childhood started to come up. And so I
mm,
ran to an Al Anon meeting. By then, I had the internet. I found one really quickly and I started going, but I didn't stay. So I had my own journey, but I always had the tools and the principles in the back of my mind, kind of right
mhm.
there. I tell people I live my life like a 12-step program because my life is a 12-step program. And so, I know that we have anonymity in the 12-step rooms, but I'm not anonymous. I live my life out loud. So you don't have to
Yes.
because maybe there's something in my story that could assist someone who doesn't even know
Yes.
that my story
Absolutely.
is their story.
Yes.
and
100%. I
and I
agree with that. Hmm.
and I just think that God made me this way, like to tell the truth about the journey because the lies are what have us
Yes.
continue the pain, the addiction, the
Yes.
unfortunate,
Yes.
right? So my son, who knew? Not my baby
Mhm.
boy, right? Not my
Right.
little
Right.
perfect firstborn baby boy. No
Yes.
way.
Yes.
No way was this disease supposed to grab him by the soul. I
Yes.
didn't see it.
Mm,
I did not see it coming, Kelly. I did everything that I thought was right. He was
that's
in a
right.
boys program. He was in a sports league. He was going to camp. I mean,
Yeah.
everything I could afford
Mm,
and not. I did it with
yes.
him, for him. He's got pictures. He got Cornell West. He's got football players. We did the
Did
damn
it all.
thing,
We
did
did.
it
Yes.
all.
Hmm.
And still, my baby
Hmm.
would end up, he ain't a baby no more. My grown man would end up in the grips of addiction. And at first, I had the conversation with him. I said, we come from addicts.
Yes.
I said that plainly. We come from addicts. So I need you to
Hmm.
understand that I call marijuana the gateway drug because in reality,
Yes.
it is. Like I used to
It
say,
is.
no, not really, not really. But I know that it is a thin line, a
Yes,
thin
it
line. But
is.
when you come from addiction, it is the gateway drug. There are people who could
Yes.
smoke it and not be addicted, but not in my family. Well, that I
That's
don't,
right. I
it has
believe you.
impacted us all. And so
Absolutely.
I had the conversation with him, and still he found a way to get this drugs in his system. And he went from drugs, I mean, he went from marijuana into heroin. And
Wow.
for 10 years, that was his life. At first, I was in denial, right? I did not want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Did not want to believe. I was like, marijuana, okay. Like I knew it. But it was the heroin. Heroin to me when I grew up was people were people using needles and falling
Yeah.
over and one day it was Mother's Day and we went to eat. He
Mm-hmm.
used to drink this thing. It's codeine, liquid codeine.
Wow. Wow.
He used to drink it. And we were at a meal and
Mm-hmm.
my baby was nodding at the table, Kelly.
Wow.
And I'm looking like, are you falling asleep? You know, and I'm being this regular black mama, like, are you falling asleep, bro? Like, get your behind up,
Yeah.
you know. And
Mm-hmm.
he was trying to play it off, but he was terrible at it. And I knew in that
Mm-hmm.
moment, there's a problem. Something's going on.
Wow.
And so I still avoided it. Again, I didn't know how to approach it, you know.
Yes.
It he would call me and talk about how him and the girlfriend had a fight and can I pick him up. So I did it one time
Mm-hmm.
and he went back to the girlfriend and I said, don't call me anymore. The next
Mm.
time you leave her, you're going to have to come home. And we were standing in the hallway of my apartment in the front. And he had done something, he's always doing something. He's smoking in the house. And I tell him, don't smoke, because he smoked the heroin. So I said, don't smoke in the house.
Oh,
Like, I don't,
wow.
like, it was crazy. So I was putting him out. I packed his stuff and put it at the front of the door. And he was sweating so profusely, like water coming out of a faucet, Kelly.
Wow.
And in that moment, I could not deny this any longer. I was like,
Mm.
he's sick. My son is
Yes.
sick. And again, I didn't know what to do. So
Mm-hmm.
he had something happened. I don't remember how, but he came to me and was like, I gotta go, I gotta get help. I said, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. He came to me and said he had to get help. And so that was the first time. And so I took him downtown and he went to detox and that lasted for about 5 minutes. I say 5 minutes because it wasn't that long. As soon as
Mhm.
he got,
Right.
sober, he was back on. And so we did that
Mm-hmm.
for about four more times, four more times.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the
Mm-hmm.
fifth time, I believe, that he said, I want to go back to such and such place, some place he had been before. And I
Mm-hmm.
said,
Mm-hmm.
well, handle your business. I mean, by this point, I had gotten some healing for me, right? I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
Parents of Al Anon. I was back coming to this meeting. I was in my own sobriety around my money stuff. And I was like, this one's on you, buddy. You're going to have to
Yeah.
make the phone call. You're going to have to do the da da da. You've got health insurance. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything, took my hands completely off. And he
Yes.
and he and he and it's been over a year.
And he did it.
And he did it. And he did it. I only went to that place one time because he says, can you bring me a sweater? It's cold and blah blah blah. I said, okay, I'll take the train. I'll come to the place. I'll drop it off. But that was
Mm-hmm.
it. That
Wow.
was it. I was not
That
going to
was
do the
it.
journey like I did before. Mm-mm. I had to
So
take
that
my power
difference.
back.
Yes, you took your power back and you stopped enabling and put
Yeah,
put the control in his hands. Like it's power in his
absolutely.
hands instead of your
Absolutely.
hands. Do you like today, you said this has been about a year. So today, are there moments where do you worry or do you feel comfortable that he won't slip? Or how do
Mm,
you keep grounded in your
mm.
faith that he will be okay?
I gave him to God when he was 8, and I tried to take the power back the whole time afterwards. So
Oh,
today, for
mm-hmm,
real, I
mm-hmm.
gave him back to God. I have to give him back to God every day
Yes, every day.
because He's not my
Hmm.
son. He's God's child. And
That's right.
I simply pray for him. Now, I worry
Hmm. Hmm.
sometimes, right? I don't live inside of the worry that I used to have, like the constant, the nervousness. Like I tell you, the
Yes.
opening of the closing of the door. That was my thing. Like I hear the
Hmm.
door close ever so gently. That thing inside of me is starting to calm
Yes.
down.
Good.
I don't feel it as anxiously as I felt it in the past. I have to trust his word.
Mm.
If he say he's
Mm.
sober, I kind of gotta believe him, even if in my heart I'm like, you sure? But he doesn't look like it, right? He looks
Hmm.
sober. I saw him not
Hmm.
sober for so long, I didn't remember what he looked like sober.
Wow. Wow. That's so deep. So, do you ever look at him ever and see a mirror?
Oh, you kidding? He looks like my father. He looks like my brother, like literally. Um, but I see myself all the time in
Yes,
him.
in him.
In
Hmm.
him, absolutely. I see myself in him without, like, I didn't raise him with a whole lot of structures that I had, right?
Hmm.
I kind of took
Hmm.
some of the structures off because I felt like my life was so I don't even know how to describe it. It was so like tight.
Hmm.
And even though my mother didn't really have like this tight rein on me, I was afraid of her. So I
Hmm.
didn't want him to be afraid of me. And after a while,
Hmm.
I was a single mother. And so I think that also played a part in it. Like when I became a single
Hmm.
parent, when he was a teenager, I think I took my hands off the wheel. And
Interesting.
so I think back to my own childhood and I say, there might have been a point in time that my mother took her hands off the wheel at the same moment.
Interesting.
And while I didn't look like I was as far gone as my son, I
Hmm.
was, because you heard me say I was using alcohol and marijuana, but I still looked like I was functioning in
Right.
society.
Right. And she took her hands off the wheel probably around 11 when you started using. That's so deep. So, how have you had to shift your mindset? Like today, how and
Oh,
what are those things, if there are like a few things you would say that you had to unlearn in order to
I
support
had
your
to
son?
unlearn, I had to unlearn the mother in me, right? Because I'm not his mother
That's
in the
deep.
world of alcoholism and drugs. I am his peer in that. As a matter of fact, he's got more time
Wow.
sober than I do, right? If we're in actuality, in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, it's not about your age numerically. It's about the age that you have in the program. And so my son is older than me in sobriety, right? And
Wow.
so when I got my 90-day chip last week, I was happy and I'm running to him like, I got my 90-day chip. And he's like, congratulations, mom, And even throughout the time before I got to the 90 days, he came in the room and said, everything okay? You good? Are you thinking about drinking? I mean, checking on me, you know.
That's awesome.
I thought that you serious? He's like, for real, mom, because sometimes, people start to think about drinking around the time that you've been sober. I'm like, okay.
Right. He knows that. That's so
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So I
so
had
deep.
to
So
unlearn that I know more than him.
right. Because he is older than you in the world of this journey, this alcoholism, this drug addiction. Do you ever go to meetings together?
No, he's not that type. He's an Aquarius. He's
Okay.
private, right? He
Mhm.
his If he knew that we were having this conversation, he would die.
Oh,
Cuz
uh-oh.
cuz he thinks that this journey is his only. Right? He doesn't
Hmm.
have, now that's where the immaturity is. He doesn't have it like I've been living this life with him
Yes.
as well. I was
Hmm.
impacted by his addiction as well as his mother, as his primary caregiver, as the person who birthed
Hmm.
him, who loved him, who cared for him, who had a different vision for his future, right? He doesn't know
Yes.
and understand that aspect of it. And so I share it from a place as a parent. the impact it
Yes.
had on me. And so we don't go to meetings together. We live a separate, sober life, but yet we are
That's awesome.
intertwined in the conversation around sobriety.
That's awesome. I love that. I want to read the comment from someone who wrote, as a parent, I feel like I can and should do it all. But the action of giving him back to God, I think I can accept. I constantly say
Hmm.
I'm not God, but in reality, as mom, I do want to be in control. And we talked about that
Hmm.
earlier before we got on,
Yes.
the need to
Yes.
control and how we have to really surrender. And she says, thank you, Nicole. So I don't know
Thank
if you can
you. Thank
see
you.
this, but there are prayer hands and hearts and thumbs up all throughout this conversation. Someone else said, this is amazing, Nikki. God's got you. So I
Thank
agree.
you.
This is amazing. And I'm so grateful for you saying yes to being here this morning. We could talk all day, but I want to open up the floor and I have some more questions, but I want to open up the floor if
Okay.
somebody wants to share or ask a question of you. Please feel free to come off of mute and join the conversation. And while I look to see if anybody's doing that, I will ask you, how have you been rebuilding your emotional and spiritual reserves after
Mm.
possibly them being depleted? I imagine at some point
Oh,
they were
yeah.
depleted.
Hmm. Hmm. It was December of 2022, or I don't know. It had to be 2022 or
Hmm.
2023.
Hmm.
And I was done. Like my spirit couldn't take anymore. I had cried enough tears. I mean, like I was done. I said, Nikki, you got to let this go. And I started to do
And
my
was
own
that,
healing
excuse me,
around it.
Nikki, when you say you were done in December of 2022, what were you done with? Was it the heroin use with your son?
Done with taking myself through the raggedy machine, the raking my body, my heart, my soul over the coals around how I could have done something different if I had
Yes,
done this, if
that
I
part.
had done that.
Okay.
We used to say when I was in college, if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk, right? I'm going if all
That's
over the
right.
place.
I get it.
And the
Mm,
reality is, if I had done nothing, he made a choice.
that's
He
right.
made a choice to pick up. I did not, in his life. And so I
Mm,
had to let go of beating myself up.
yes. I had to let go of beating myself up. That's such a trip that you say that because I know everybody on this call, particularly the people that have come on week after week after week, year after year after year. Many people have said that the guilt and the shame of,
The
all
embarrassment,
the,
Kelly. You know how many
yes,
people ask me, "Oh, how's your son? What's your son doing?" And you see it, people talk. I hate social media. "Oh, my son got to this. My son's doing this. My son's doing that." And I'm
yeah.
like, "Please, God, nobody ask me about my son, Lord Jesus, because I don't know how to lie."
Yeah, I 100% understand. With high school graduation, I was like, I just hope we make it across that stage. That's the
Girl,
prayer. But
I
everybody would
homeschooled
say, where's
him
he
so he
going
could
to?
get. When he going to college?
Wow.
Girl, oh God, I didn't
He
want to
was,
hear
let's
that.
just get a degree. All right, a
Mm,
high school
mm.
degree. So in December 22 was that moment that you said,
That was the
how
moment
did
that
you?
I took my own power back. I was crying
Okay.
so much. I was so
Mm-hmm.
ashamed and so embarrassed. I belong to this group of women called the Fast Girls, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we have these end of year calls where we basically take roll call, like where's everybody on the planet and what was your year like? And we were summing up our years. And I shared on
Mm,
that call
I
about
love that.
how my life was impacted by his addiction. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I cried like a baby. And I was like, yeah, and I'm not taking this into 2023.
Good for you. So is that when you also surrendered and you
Yeah,
let go and let God, like all of that? Your spiritual health started to rebuild at that moment?
absolutely. It was
I
something
love,
about that call that I felt like, yeah, how people make New Year's resolutions. Oh, I'm not doing
yes,
this for the new
yes,
year. I
yes.
was like, yeah, I'm not doing this for the new year.
And it was in that call. I love that. We talk so much about community and sisterhood, brotherhood, and you having that group of fast girls. Our community here, it's like 1,500 people, and people call in
Yeah.
for what they might need at that moment. But it's a community of it's
Yes.
family, it's chosen
Yeah.
family that are all in the same situation together. I do have a question that says, how are you parenting your daughter, who's 12, I know you mentioned, differently with the wisdom you have gained through the journey with your son? So, how are you parenting your 12-year-old
Oh,
now?
that's a great question. So,
Mm-hmm.
I said before, I live my life out loud. My daughter's been living this journey with us, right? So my son's
Mm-hmm.
been addicted, and his sister has watched him go through programs, right? I never hid it from her. I was very honest, always shared, like, this is what your brother's going through. But more importantly, I shared with her that this is something that has impacted our family culturally.
Yes.
All around us, we have this alcohol and drugs all around us. And she says, Mommy, but everyone drinks. I said, well, your father doesn't drink. Maybe you can follow his his pathway. I try to find places and spaces where she could see, well, yeah, maybe that person doesn't. And I said, I don't know if you'll ever drink, right? I just promise, hope you can see the how it has impacted our family, and that you would choose not to become addicted to it.
Yes.
However, if you did, you know that there are places you can go to get help. Period. I,
Mm-hmm.
I asked her if she wants to go to Al-Anon, Alateen, because they have that, right, for
Yes,
teens who
they
have been
do.
impacted. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are the conversations we have. Do you feel like you need Alateen? Do you feel like you should have a therapist? And she's like, well, I can go to a
Oh, that's
therapist. I think
great.
I could use that.
That's great. That is
Hmm.
good. So you're having the conversations and you're listening, and that's probably different than where you were with your son. Maybe.
That's
I don't know.
different
He's
than
20.
where I was with my mother.
Yes, that part. That part. And isn't that generational? It passes down. Our mom is
Hmm.
amazing, but we never talked, like really talked about issues. Even to
Mm-mm,
this day,
mm-mm.
she's 80 something and I'm almost
Yeah.
60, and we never talked. We just didn't.
I can't
Something
bring up
from our
things. She like, I don't want to
generation.
talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It just is. I have another question in the
Hmm.
chat that says, Nikki, if you could write a letter to yourself today, if you could write a letter to you today, 1 year from now, what would be the gift you would give to you for where you are
Mm,
going on this healing journey? So 1 year from now, you're writing a
mm.
letter to yourself. That's a beautiful question. Thank you,
I love
Natasha.
it. Thank you. I give myself the gift of unconditional love.
Yes.
There is not enough love that I can
Mhm,
give to the little girl who still shows up,
mhm,
who still cries, who's just
mhm.
learning to put the lights off at night, like learning to sleep in the dark.
Yes.
Um, I would show me all the love that I thought I was getting, but getting it in real
Yes.
time.
Mm, I love that. You said the little girl who's just learning to turn the lights off at night and unconditional love. That's so
Mhm.
beautiful. There's another, I hope you can see all the love that people are sharing
Oh,
with
I
you
can't
this
see.
morning.
Thank
Their
you. I see the
hearts
hearts. I
fly,
see the hearts.
hearts
Thank y'all. Oh my
fly,
God.
prayer
Look at all
hands,
these
love
people
everywhere.
here. I didn't even
I,
look at
I
the people's faces. I'm looking at the faces and the names.
Everybody is loving you. There's
Oh,
another
wow. Thank
question that
y'all.
says, how are you celebrating your life throughout this journey? That's a beautiful question, too. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. So, this is great, right? Every day that I go to a meeting, and I go to a meeting
Yes.
every day, by the way,
Good for
and
you.
I tell people I was a social drinker, right? And I'm
Hmm.
also a social person. So you might
Yes.
imagine, as a social person, I was socially drinking quite regularly, right? So
Yeah.
I was at Martini Monday,
Mhm.
Taco Tuesday, Wet Willy Wednesday, right? Thirsty Thursday, Freedom Friday. So I now tell people I celebrate soberly every day. So I have
Wow.
sober celebrations. Today, I have these books that people have pre ordered, and I need to autograph them. So I'm
That's
taking
awesome.
myself to the park and I'm going to sign them under the sun, right?
That's
That for
awesome.
me is celebrating, right? I am literally
Yes.
celebrating sobriety every day.
Yes. And you don't go to those social places that would tempt you potentially,
Absolutely
correct?
not. Absolutely not. I can't go there. You think you kidding? I could see myself picking up. I was going to
Yes.
lunch with my friend, and we were like, "Let's go to this place we used to go to all the time to eat." I said, "Girl, we can't go there." I said, "It smells like alcohol. The first thing I'm going to want to get is a margarita because that's what we used to drink there. We would have
Yes.
margaritas, and we would get two of them because I'm not going to have more than two.
I
Two is
understand
my
that
limit,
actually.
So
hmm
yeah,
So
but
you
yeah.
put your, I love the celebrating, and you just mentioned books. So you have 4 books, I think you said, that you
Yes,
self-published. So
ma'am.
share, what are the books? How can people get them, please?
Well, you know the name of my company.
I do know the name of your company. We weren't going to go down that path fully, but it's all
But
good because you can
one of
share
the
it. It's no
books is
problem.
called, right? So the name of my company is called the Coochie Coach LLC. And the
Mm-hmm.
first book that I wrote before I became the Coochie Coach, I wrote a book. It was called Always the Victor, Never a Victim, because my first marriage was abusive. And
I
so
got it.
I used to write a blog. I wrote a blog for like 7 days. And my friend said, "You can't leave it on the computer." God rest her soul. Thank God Gladys
Yes.
told me that because it became a book. So I put it in a book and
I love that.
it's on lulu.com. And that was the first book. And then the second one was called Coochie Care, 21
Mm-hmm.
Days and 21 Ways of Coochie Consciousness. And literally a workbook to take you through the 21 ways in which to care for your most prized, sacred possession as a woman in my
Yeah.
world of womb work. And so it's like it's from taking a bath to taking a test to make sure that your sexual
Mm,
health is on point and that you're healthy at every interval of your femininity. And then the
mm-hmm.
third one is it's an ebook. So anybody sends me their email address, I'll send it to them, right? But it was
Okay.
one that I published during the pandemic because again, I focus on empowering women around sex, intimacy, all those things. And so during the pandemic, it was a big deal about can we see people? I can't see my partner. I can't be intimate. So I wrote a book called The A to Z. I forgot the title. It's something about A to Z
It's
pleasures,
about
pandemic pleasures
self-care.
or something. Yeah.
Evident.
But it's
Mm-hmm.
about taking
Mm-hmm.
care of yourself, but also experiencing pleasure when we can't be with our partners. And then the
Got it.
fourth one, I just published it on Barnes and Noble. It's called And She Was Loved Always, right? In all
Mm-hmm.
ways. And so that is a line from
Mm,
Toni Morrison's Song of
yeah.
Solomon that I
Yes.
love so much. And I was like, that's the title of the book. And that's a poetic memoir. And so I wrote some
Yes.
poems in 2023 and I didn't publish them until 2025. But I got them out of my head and into
I
a
love
book.
that. And
Yeah,
I
thank
know
you.
we talked earlier that I love that piece too. She was loved always and in all ways. I love that. How can people reach you if they want to work with you? I know you do coaching, or if they
Mhm.
want to get any of your products. What's the best
Well,
way for people
I'm
to
old
reach you?
fashioned, so I tell people I still use the phone. You can pick up the phone and call me. So I'm gonna put my number in the chat, or you can put it in there for me,
Sure, tell
Kelly.
me. Yeah.
It's
hmm
917
hmm
406
Okay.
1141.
Okay.
It's
That's
an
it. I put it in the
iPhone.
chat.
It's an iPhone, so you probably need to text first because it won't automatically let you reach me because I've got some stalker out there too who is trying to bother
Uh-oh.
me and my family. So you can't just automatically pick up and dial if I don't have your number saved, if I don't already know who you are. I have kind of
Got it.
some blocks from the phone company on that.
Understood.
Yeah. But
So
yeah, a
text
phone.
first at that
Hmm.
place. Okay, got it. Got it. So that's awesome. You are such an incredible, wise
Oh,
gem,
thank
and
you.
I'm so
Thank you,
proud of
Kelly.
you.
Thank you.
For you being 98 days sober. I know 100 days is a big deal,
It
and I
is.
know
I'm
you'll have
looking to
a
that
big
100 days like, where you at? I'm
yeah.
celebrating.
Yes, you'll be celebrating. What are you going to do on your 100th day?
That's funny because I have a journal piece that is called My First 100 Days of Sobriety. And
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that because that's just in a couple of days. I usually try to like go
Mm-hmm.
to a meeting in person and make a big deal about it. But I think I'm gonna do some it might be a day of silence or something. I spend a lot of time talking to people, writing things, on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
on the internet. So yeah,
Yes.
we had this call yesterday with my friend does this program called the Unreasonable Action Marathon, right? And one of the women mentioned how she did 9 days of sleeping. So we were like,
Oh,
"You took a nap for 9 days?" It was like a 9 day
wow.
nap. So I might do 9 hours or something like that to get me
That's
started. But yeah,
great. The unreasonable actions. I love that
yes,
because it's things that
yeah,
are basically outside your comfort zone, maybe, or things that,
exactly. That you
you
wouldn't
know,
ordinarily do. She's on the call.
that's,
Is that a queer? I think it's a queer. She's here. Yep,
oh,
that's
that's
her thing.
awesome. And
Yep.
Akuya is saying, so proud of you, Nikki. You're doing it.
Thank
Yes,
you,
you are
queer.
doing it. You're such a role model for so many of us.
Thank
I
you.
really want to say that. And shout out to Akuya. It says, congratulations. So many congratulations. So I love that you're here. And I can't tell you how many people are popping up loves and emojis talking about,
Thank you.
congrats, congrats, congrats. I want to open up the floor to anybody who might have a question or a thought for Nikki this morning. She's been so vulnerable, so open. I live like you too, Nikki. I live out loud. And my mother still tells me I talk too much and I
My
tell
mother,
people too much.
everybody, mother says the same thing. You ain't got to say everything, Nicole. I was like, sometimes you just do, okay?
And
I
sometimes
was
people
like,
need to hear it. And it also, you by you being vulnerable and sharing, lets other people know they can too. And we all have
exactly.
something that we're dealing with. We all
Absolutely.
do. There's no one's out here
Absolutely.
living a
Whether
perfect
you're
life.
parenting or being parented, you've got
That's
something that
right.
you are dealing with in some way, shape,
Hmm.
form. And,
Right.
I think that for me, it's the silence that kills us. It's the silence
That's
that
right.
keeps us sick, right? It's the
That's right.
silence
That's
that
right.
that keeps us gripped in the
That's right.
disease.
That's right. And someone
I have a
just said, you
question.
never know what will connect with someone who needs to hear it. Yes. Good
Amen.
morning.
Hey, good morning, Kelly, and thank you, Nikki, for your
Good morning.
vulnerability. So, I too come from a family that has battled addiction. My dad was a functional alcoholic. My brother had a drug addiction that he hid for a long time. And when he stopped doing drugs, he started drinking heavily. And so now he's trying to stop drinking. And so now he's gained 40 pounds. And so, what he explained is that when you release one addiction, you become addicted to something else. Can you speak to that and share like any words of encouragement? He's also a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he'll go for 5 days, and we'll celebrate 5 days of sobriety, and then he has setbacks and all of that. So
Hmm.
I'm part of his coach team to keep him motivated. So any comments on how you replace one addiction with something that's, less harmful or anything like that that I can maybe share with him would be helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. That was amazing. And that is true because my son put down the heroin, but he picked up the cigarettes, and my sister got off the crack, but she picked up the cigarettes. And so the nicotine addiction is even worse. Many of us go to food. I know that I love food, so I was going to food. So now I am a gym junkie. Now I work out every single day. I mean, I'm walking, I'm planking, I am on the treadmill. I am literally doing something for my health every single day because I had hypertension too because of the alcohol, right? That gave me high blood pressure. I wouldn't have had high blood pressure if I wasn't drinking. I didn't have it at 20 something when I took 10 years off from drinking. And so I say, and walking is the simplest way, right? You don't have to create a whole gym routine, right? People say, I don't know where to start. One foot in front of the other. During the pandemic, there was an old lady who was walking in her apartment. Walk around your
Mm,
house, put the step
mm,
counter on. If you got steps, walk up and down the steps. If you live in a building, instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs. I literally
Hmm.
am walking. You can think. I see Laureen said it. Yep, walking is relaxing. I tell people I'm walking in Central Park. My daughter goes to school not too far from there. So guess what I do? I go through the park after I drop her off from school. I
That's
take the
awesome.
journey. So that is a big piece. Exercise,
That's
movement. Try to
wonderful.
get your brother to walk with you. You know, if it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. I got my friend the other day. She's, in another 12-step program. She's like, I'm tired of fat people. I'm tired of looking at fat people and I'm tired of being fat. I said, well, when are you ready to start today? I said, so let's go. Get to she got a gym in her apartment complex. Let's go. 5 minutes. I don't care if
Right.
it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes every single day. So that's it. I don't
Thank
I
you.
don't deviate.
Thank you so much for that. Those are great.
Thank you.
It's really great. I love how you're focused on your self-care fully.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, that's what, and I've heard you talk about that on past calls. Your self-care is paramount. So that's fantastic. Let me mute. I hear some background noise. I'm gonna mute that person. Give me 1 second. Or maybe that's Linda, are you trying to ask a question?
Mm-mm.
Okay, no, I thought she was coming off mute to ask a question, so I just muted her, no problem. But I was saying, I love how you are so focused on your own self care.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to your son before we wrap because it's almost time, unfortunately.
Okay.
How every day with your son, I know you mentioned earlier he lives with you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, what are some things that you might say to him, or how do you just talk with him during the day?
Kelly, that's great. I told you he's an Aquarius, right? If anybody knows anything about an Aquarius, they don't really talk. He talks when he wants to talk, right? So
Hmm.
instead of me being this Libra who's like, talk to me, play with me,
Right,
like
right.
I was being that way. And he's like, what's up with you, mom? You being weird, right? So I said, I'm gonna stop that. I now walk into his room, I check on him like I did when he was a newborn, and I go, I love you, and I walk out. He's sleeping. He don't even hear me maybe. Or I'll send a text. I just want you to know that I love you. Or I'll see something
Mm,
and I'll send it to him. I'm not all over him, showering him with this affection. He knows I love him. I don't need to be
that's
all
right.
extra over top of him because that's what I was doing at first. Like maybe I missed something. Maybe I didn't love him
Hmm.
enough. Maybe I didn't hug him enough. That's not true. Child, please. Hugs for days.
Right.
I took
Yes.
him everywhere. We went all over the world. And guess what? He knows that. He says
Right.
it to me. He says, Mom, it's not your fault. I chose to use drugs. Okay. Thank you for
That's
telling me that.
yes. Hmm.
So I spend a lot of time not trying to impose myself on his style of being. He's real low
Yes.
key. He's not you hear me talking about living my life out loud? He ain't living his life out loud. He like, listen,
Right.
don't tell nobody my business. And I have to respect that.
Right. And listening is really
Listen.
challenging when you're an outgoing person that lives out loud, right? And I remember somebody saying this is so true. Listen and silent have the same letters. So it's really
Hmm.
a practice in becoming silent. And it's a challenging thing to do when you're used to talking
Yes, yes.
and you
Listen, I've been
want to
talking since
communicate.
I was 9 months old. I don't know how to shut up.
Yes, it's hard to be silent and really
It
listen
is.
and pause and take a breath. So, how did you know your purpose? When did you decide your purpose was to help women and men? Because there's a lot of
Hmm.
men on today too. When did you know your purpose was to do this
Ooh.
work, this life doula work?
I feel like I always knew, I just didn't know where to go with it, right? As a child, I
Hmm.
wanted to be a mortician, but nobody said you could do that, right?
Yes.
When I got to age 30, I took a sacred woman class with Queen Afua, and you do a lot of
Mm,
womb work on yourself. You do a
okay.
lot of healing on your womb, and you go through your own journey. And so from the age of 30, I knew I was on to something because I would get the phone calls, right? I was the person that people called or talked about. But more importantly, people shared with me very candidly about their womb journeys and they didn't know me.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
strangers. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there must be something here. So fast
Mm-hmm.
forward, one day I said, it's time for me to birth this. I was in a
Yeah.
business course, an entrepreneur class or something. My friend and I, we used to call it a traveling coaching because we didn't really do the work that the coaches suggested. We just like traveling with them. And so
Mm-hmm.
we used to go to these events and travel all over. And decided I wanted to do womb work. And that was
That's
around
awesome.
2015. And I've been doing it ever since. I mean, it's had various iterations, but it always comes back to wombs, healing wombs,
Interesting.
talking about care for the
Interesting.
womb.
That's so deep. I love that. I love that. I want, there's one last question I want to read, and then we'll have to wrap up. Dr. Wayne says, how do you allow him, your son, to share his voice without interruption? LOL.
That's my brother, by the way.
Okay.
Listen, Dr. Wayne. So how you know what it is? I
What's that?
um I don't I don't interrupt, right? I really
Mm,
do. When my son decides to come to me to talk, for the most part, I'm just lying there listening. I
mm,
don't we rarely go back and forth anymore, except for when I say wash the tub or put out the trash, right? The typical
yes.
things. But when it comes to this like sober journey, I don't have a whole lot to say. I really am
Mm,
there for the listening. So when he's ready to come to me to talk about anything, that's the other thing. We don't have anything that my children can't talk about. There are things that they may not want to, but somehow they
mm-hmm.
always end up coming to me to tell me because, again, I'm that person. Just like I'm that person for
Yes.
strangers, I really am that person for them.
That's awesome. That's so good. I love that. Thank you for that question from your brother and for the honest answer. You're their person. It's so wild because I feel like for I was not never that person with my kids until now. And
Mm,
one of them is 20. I'm becoming their person. And it's really an interesting journey and pivot for myself to be quiet and listen and not have,
mhm.
my face react sometimes to things, or I might want to say, what? And I have to really work on that, my
Yeah, for sure.
reactions. So as we get ready to close, there's just, again, so much love for you. I want to say, someone says, Nikki, the sky is the limit. Place a comma behind your story. You got this.
Thank
I
you.
love that. Lauren says that, and there's just love everywhere. And someone says, that sounds like me, Kelly. Yes, I love that my son is talking to me for the first time and was here in my hotel last night, laying across the
Oh,
bed for a few
beautiful.
hours. And then we talked all the way home while he was driving home, the youngest one. And he was sharing in a different way than I've ever
Hmm.
experienced. And some of the things he shared were a little maybe TMI, but at the same time, I had to work on my response because I want him to keep
Mhm.
talking. And it's a real journey for me. It
For
really
sure.
is.
For sure.
So as we close this morning, I want to say, someone says trying to control the reaction to what they shared is hard. Yep, yep, yep. And someone put a picture controlling my tongue is no problem. It's my face that needs deliverance. Yes, that part.
Exactly.
That part. That
That's
I have
me.
no poker face. Me too.
Not at all. My friend called it micro emotions. My micro emotions are always there. I just put two links inside the chat, Kelly. It's a
Okay.
what I have a WhatsApp channel, so if
Wonderful.
anybody wants to join that. And then I put the link for the latest book, and She Was Loved. It's on Barnes and Noble. And you can
Awesome.
get a copy if spirit leads you to it.
That's awesome. And what we can do is share out in our next email blast that goes out to all of our subscribers. We'll share both of
Hmm.
those for you for
Kelly,
the
can I say
next.
thank you? I have to say
Please
thank
say
you.
whatever you'd like to
Thank
say as
you,
we get
thank
ready
you,
to
thank
wrap.
you. I know it's only 1 minute left, but thank you. Like really, really thank you. Thank you for, this space like that you created. Thank you for your vulnerability. I learned from watching you all share your story so very candidly with us over these past 6 years. And it has been nothing short of miraculous to
Mm,
watch and to see us change and grow in this
yes.
journey of being
Yes.
parents. of this disease.
Yes.
And so I really am very grateful and indebted to you for my own healing around this,
Oh.
because it has played a pivotal part in the experience of my life.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Me
Thank
too.
you.
You know, you people like you who come on every week and who share and who open up are why we're here, because we're all, we're all living with whatever trauma, whatever difficulty, whatever challenge, and we have an opportunity every day to recreate ourselves, and choose
Indeed,
something
indeed.
different, like you did 98 days ago. So I really am grateful for you and for everybody that calls in. And your story is so powerful. I am, I've been a little teary eyed this morning because your story is very similar to
Mm.
mine in many
Yeah,
ways. And
yeah.
so I appreciate you for being so open. Thank you for your openness and love. Thank you, Nikki, for sharing and being open. Thank you for inviting me to be here, Nikki. The love is just
Oh,
so
thank you.
big and so wide this morning as you sit there in Harlem, breathing the fresh air on your friend's porch. I'm grateful for you. So thank you as well. And Dr. Vicky is not able to be here this morning, so I'm going to do my best to close us out in a prayer, like
Yes,
she
ma'am.
always does. So, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this morning and for the honesty and connection and vulnerability that was shared. I'm especially grateful for Nikki Brown and her courage in sharing her personal journey to sobriety. Bless her and her family for light and hope and everything that she has offered to us today and her own journey as she continues to walk her path and lead with love as a doula coach. Help each of us carry what we heard today into our lives with strength, compassion, and faith. Guide our steps, steady our hearts, and remind us that we are never walking alone. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
so
Have a
much, Kelly. Y'all
beautiful
have a blessed
Sunday.
day. Yes.
Yes, and I look forward to staying in touch and seeing you back on next Sunday after your 100-day
Yes,
celebration.
ma'am. I'm gonna send my physical address in the email. Does that
Okay,
work?
yes.
Or I can
Please
text
send
it to
that
you.
to
It doesn't
us.
matter. Okay.
Either way, send it to
Okay.
Dr.
Cool.
D, Dr. Vicky, me. That would be great. And
Okay.
and we'll put out the two links that you shared. We'll put them out in our next newsletter. Not
All right.
newsletter, but
Cool.
our weekly email. Have a
Yes,
beautiful day,
ma'am. Thank you. Y'all have a
everybody.
great day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.